The odds were mathematically impossible, 1 in 847 trillion. Yet Oscar, a gray and white tabby cat, had accurately predicted the death of 73 patients with 100% accuracy. When he chose to spend his final hours with someone, families knew to gather. But what the families didn't know was that Oscar was about to help medical science make a discovery that would change everything. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Steer House, Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Providence, Rhode Island, casting gentle shadows across the polished linoleum floors of the third-floor dementia unit. The facility, a stately brick building that had served the community for over 40 years, housed 120 residents in various stages of end-of-life care. From those recovering from surgery to others living with advanced Alzheimer's disease, but Steer House was famous for more than just its compassionate care and dedicated staff. It was home to Oscar, a 5-year-old gray and white tabby cat whose mysterious abilities had captured the attention of medical professionals, researchers, and families. Around the world, Oscar possessed what seemed to be an impossible gift, the ability to predict when a patient was about to die with 100% accuracy. Dr. Alina Martinez, the facility's chief medical officer, had been documenting Oscar's behavior for the past 3 years, ever since she had arrived at Steer House fresh from completing her geriatric medicine fellowship at Brown University. At 34 years old, Dr. Martinez brought both scientific rigor and genuine compassion to her work. But nothing in her medical training had prepared her for the phenomenon she witnessed daily in the halls of the nursing home. Oscar's routine was as predictable as it was mysterious. Each morning, the cat would begin his rounds on the 3rd floor, moving methodically from room to room with the purposeful gait of a medical professional making hospital rounds. He would pause at doorways, sometimes entering rooms to visit with patients and staff, other times continuing past without interest. But when Oscar chose to enter a room and settle down beside a patient's bed, refusing to leave despite offers of food or attempts to relocate him, everyone at Steer House knew what it meant. The pattern had been established during Oscar's first year at the facility. When he was just a kitten adopted from the local animal shelter as part of a pet therapy program, staff members had initially dismissed his behavior as typical feline fickleness. Cats were known for being selective about their human companions. But when patient after patient passed away within hours of Oscar choosing to remain with them, the coincidence became impossible to ignore. Dr. Martinez kept meticulous records of Oscar's predictions, documenting the time he entered each room, his behavior patterns, and the subsequent outcomes. After 73 consecutive accurate predictions, she had calculated the mathematical probability of such accuracy occurring by chance, 1 in 847 trillion. The number was so astronomical that it effectively ruled out coincidence as an explanation. It's not possible, Dr. Martinez had told her colleagues during a case presentation at the American Geriatric Society annual conference. No medical instrument we possess can predict death with that level of accuracy. Yet this cat has never been wrong, not once. The medical community's response had been mixed. Some researchers were intrigued by the possibilities Oscar's abilities suggested for end-of-life care and family preparation. Others remained skeptical, suggesting that confirmation bias and selective reporting might be influencing the documented results. But for the families who had experienced Oscar's presence during their loved ones' final hours, there was no doubt about the cat's remarkable gift. Sarah Chen, whose grandmother had lived at Steer House for 2 years before passing away the previous spring, had become one of Oscar's most vocal advocates. Grammy was unconscious for 3 days before Oscar came to her room. Sarah explained to visitors who came to meet the famous cat, "We had been taking turns sitting with her, not knowing if she had hours or days left. When Oscar settled on her bed and refused to leave, we knew. We were able to call the whole family, and Grammy passed peacefully 6 hours later with all of us there." Stories like Sarah's had made Oscar something of a celebrity, with news crews, researchers, and curious visitors regularly requesting tours of Steer House to meet the death-predicting cat. But Dr. Martinez was more interested in understanding the scientific mechanism behind Oscar's abilities than in managing his media appearances. Her investigation had led her to research everything from feline sensory capabilities to the biochemical changes that occur in the human body during the dying process. Cats possessed remarkable olfactory abilities, with scent receptors far more sensitive than those of humans. Could Oscar be detecting specific chemical compounds released by the body in the hours before death? Was he responding to subtle changes in body temperature, breathing patterns, or other physiological indicators that human observers might miss? The breakthrough in Dr. Martinez's research came during her observation of Oscar's behavior with Margaret O'Brien, an 80 former schoolteacher who had been battling pancreatic cancer for 6 months. Margaret had been receiving hospice care at Steer House for 2 weeks, and her condition had been steadily declining. Her daughter, Patricia, had been maintaining a bedside vigil, supported by her adult children and extended family. On a Tuesday morning in late October, Dr. Martinez was reviewing medication schedules when she noticed Oscar moving through the hallway with unusual purpose. The cat's typical leisurely pace had been replaced by a more focused, determined stride. He passed several open doors where he normally might have stopped to visit with patients or staff. Heading directly toward Margaret's room at the end of the corridor. Dr. Martinez followed at a discreet distance, curious about what might have drawn Oscar's attention. Margaret's vital signs had remained stable overnight, and there were no obvious changes in her condition that would have alerted the medical staff to an imminent decline. Yet Oscar entered the room and immediately jumped onto Margaret's bed, positioning himself close to her side with the deliberate care of a nurse adjusting a patient's position. "Hello, Oscar," Patricia whispered from her chair beside the bed, reaching out to gently stroke the cat's fur. "Are you here to visit Grammy?" But Oscar's behavior was different from his usual social interactions with families. Instead of responding to Patricia's attention with purring or head nudging, the cat remained focused entirely on Margaret, his nose working actively as he seemed to be processing scent information invisible to human perception. Dr. Martinez entered the room quietly, not wanting to disturb the family during what might be a significant moment. "Patricia, I hope you don't mind my asking, but has there been any change in your mother's condition this morning?" Patricia shook her head, her eyes filled with the exhaustion of someone who had been maintaining a long vigil. "The night nurse said she had a peaceful night. Her breathing seems the same, and she responded a little when I spoke to her earlier." Dr. Martinez checked Margaret's chart and vital signs, confirming that there had been no significant changes since the previous evening's assessment. Margaret's pulse was steady, her breathing regular, and her color appeared normal for someone in her condition. By all conventional medical indicators, she appeared stable. Yet Oscar's presence told a different story. The cat had positioned himself, with his body pressed gently against Margaret's side, his head resting near her shoulder. His eyes were alert but calm, and he showed no interest in leaving the room despite the presence of visitors and the normal activity of the nursing home. "Patricia," Dr. Martinez said gently, "based on Oscar's behavior, you might want to contact other family members who would want to be here. I can't give you a specific time frame, but Oscar's track record suggests that significant changes may occur within the next few hours." The weight of Dr. Martinez's words settled over the room like a gentle but undeniable presence. Patricia had heard the stories about Oscar's predictions, but experiencing it firsthand brought a mixture of gratitude and sorrow that she hadn't anticipated. Over the next hour, Margaret's adult children and several grandchildren arrived at Steer House, gathering in the room where Oscar maintained his vigil. The cat showed no signs of discomfort with the increased activity, remaining focused on Margaret while allowing family members to pet him and speak quietly among themselves. Dr. Martinez used this time to observe Oscar's behavior more closely than she had been able to do during previous predictions. She noticed that the cat's breathing seemed synchronized with Margaret's, and his positioning suggested that he was monitoring not just her physical condition but something more subtle, perhaps changes in body chemistry or electromagnetic activity, that preceded the dying process. As the afternoon progressed, Margaret's family shared stories and memories, creating the kind of loving atmosphere that had become common during Oscar's vigils. The cat's presence seemed to provide permission for honest conversations about death and grief, transforming what might have been an anxious waiting period into meaningful family time. It was at 4:23 p.m. that Dr. Martinez observed the first subtle change in Margaret's condition. Her breathing pattern shifted almost imperceptibly, with slightly longer pauses between breaths and a subtle change in rhythm. The monitors didn't register any significant alterations in her vital signs, but Oscar's behavior changed immediately. The cat raised his head and began a soft, rhythmic purring that seemed designed to provide comfort rather than express contentment. "She's changing," Dr. Martinez whispered to Patricia, who immediately took her mother's hand and began speaking to her in the gentle, loving tone that families use when they sense they are sharing final moments. Margaret passed away peacefully, At 5:17 p.m., surrounded by her family and with Oscar purring softly beside her, the cat remained with her for another 10 minutes after her breathing stopped, as if ensuring that the transition was complete before quietly leaving the room. As Dr. Martinez completed the necessary medical documentation, she realized that Margaret's case had provided her with the most detailed observations of Oscar's behavior during the prediction process. The cat had arrived in the room more than 6 hours before conventional medical signs would have indicated imminent death, suggesting that he was detecting physiological changes that occurred much earlier in the dying process than previously understood. This observation led Dr. Martinez to develop a hypothesis that would revolutionize her understanding of Oscar's abilities. Working with researchers at Brown University's medical school, she began investigating the possibility that Oscar was detecting specific volatile organic compounds (VOCs) released by the human body during the cellular changes that precede death. The research team, led by Dr. James Chen, a biochemist specializing in metabolomics, designed a study to analyze air samples from rooms where Oscar had made predictions, comparing them with samples from rooms where he had shown no interest in remaining. Using advanced gas chromatography and mass spectrometry techniques, they began identifying the chemical signatures that might be triggering Oscar's behavior. The preliminary results were groundbreaking. The team identified several specific compounds that appeared in elevated concentrations in rooms where Oscar spent extended time, including certain ketones, aldehydes, and sulfur-containing molecules that are produced when cells begin the biochemical cascade leading to death. These compounds were present in concentrations far below the threshold of human detection, but well within the range of feline olfactory capabilities. What we're seeing, Dr. Chen explained to Dr. Martinez during one of their research meetings, is that Oscar appears to be functioning as a biological detector for the early stages of dying process. Changes that occur at the cellular level hours before conventional medical signs become apparent. The implications of this discovery extended far beyond explaining Oscar's mysterious abilities. If the team could develop technological methods for detecting the same chemical signatures that Oscar was responding to, it might be possible to create early warning systems for end-of-life care, allowing families more time to gather and healthcare providers better opportunities to ensure comfort and dignity during the dying process. Dr. Martinez also realized that Oscar's role at Steerhouse was more complex than simple prediction. The cat's presence provided families with a form of preparation and acceptance that improved the quality of end-of-life experiences. Instead of anxious uncertainty about timing, families could focus on meaningful connections and emotional support. The research findings were published in the Journal of Palliative Medicine, with Oscar credited as a co-investigator in what the authors described as the first documented case of animal-assisted detection of pre-death biochemical changes in humans. The paper sparked international interest from researchers, medical facilities, and animal behaviorists seeking to understand and potentially replicate Oscar's abilities. Media attention intensified following the publication, with documentary crews, news programs, and medical journalists requesting access to Oscar and the research team. Dr. Martinez found herself balancing the scientific importance of sharing their findings with the need to protect Oscar's welfare and maintain the peaceful environment that Steerhouse residents deserved. During one particularly busy week of media interviews, Dr. Martinez observed that Oscar seemed less interested in his usual rounds, spending more time in quiet areas of the nursing home and showing signs of stress from the increased activity. She realized that the cat's well-being was just as important as the scientific knowledge his abilities had provided. Oscar isn't just a research subject, she told the documentary crew that had been following their work. He's a member of our care team, and his primary role is providing comfort to our residents and their families. The scientific discoveries are important, but they can't come at the expense of his ability to do the work he was meant to do. The team established protocols to limit Oscar's exposure to media activities while continuing their research through analysis of archived samples and historical data. This approach allowed them to further refine their understanding of the biochemical markers Oscar was detecting while preserving his role as a therapeutic presence at Steerhouse. Over the following months, Dr. Martinez documented several more of Oscar's predictions, each one providing additional data for the research while reaffirming the cat's remarkable accuracy. She also began training other staff members to recognize the subtle behavioral changes that preceded Oscar's predictions, creating a more comprehensive early warning system for end-of-life care. The most significant test of their research came when Oscar began spending time with Harold Peterson, a 92-year-old retired engineer who had been a resident at Steerhouse for 8 months. Harold's family had been told that his condition was stable and that he could potentially live for several more months, or even years with his current level of care. When Oscar settled into Harold's room on a Thursday afternoon and refused to leave, despite the absence of any obvious medical changes, Dr. Martinez faced a delicate situation. The research suggested that Harold was likely in the early stages of the dying process, but communicating this to his family required extreme sensitivity and careful explanation. "I want to share some information with you based on our recent research," Dr. Martinez told Harold's son David during a private conversation. "Oscar's presence doesn't mean that death is imminent, but it does suggest that significant changes may be beginning at the cellular level. This could mean hours, or it could mean days, but it indicates that you might want to consider gathering family members who would want to be here." David Peterson was initially skeptical, pointing out that his father had seemed alert and comfortable during his visit the previous day. But as Dr. Martinez explained the research findings and Oscar's consistent track record, he began to understand the significance of the cat's behavior. Harold's family gathered over the weekend, creating a celebration of his life that included sharing photo albums, playing his favorite music, and telling stories about his adventures as a young man building bridges across the American West. Harold remained conscious and engaged for much of the time, participating in conversations and clearly enjoying the presence of his children and grandchildren. Oscar remained in the room throughout the weekend, moving occasionally to different positions but never leaving Harold's side. The cat seemed to understand that his role was to provide both an early warning system and a comforting presence during the family's preparation time. Harold passed away peacefully on Monday morning, surrounded by 3 generations of his family and with Oscar purring softly beside him. His death validated both the research findings and the practical value of Oscar's abilities for family preparation and emotional support. Following Harold's death, Dr. Martinez received a letter from David Peterson that captured the impact of Oscar's gift on families experiencing loss. "Having Oscar there didn't make losing Dad any easier," David wrote, "but it gave us the chance to say everything we needed to say and to celebrate his life while he could still participate. That time together was precious beyond measure." As word of the research spread through the medical community, other nursing homes and hospice facilities began reporting similar observations about their therapy animals. Dr. Martinez collaborated with veterinary behaviorists and medical researchers to develop training protocols that might help identify and develop these abilities in other animals. The work also led to technological innovations, with biomedical engineering teams working to create electronic sensors capable of detecting the same volatile organic compounds that Oscar was responding to. While these devices were still in early development, the potential applications for end-of-life care, medical monitoring, and even early disease detection were enormous. 3 years after beginning her documentation of Oscar's abilities, Dr. Martinez published a comprehensive follow-up study that included data from 127 of Oscar's predictions, along with analysis of the biochemical markers and family impact assessments. The study confirmed Oscar's 100% accuracy rate while providing scientific validation for the mechanisms underlying his remarkable abilities. The research had also revealed something unexpected about the dying process itself. The biochemical changes that Oscar was detecting occurred much earlier than previously understood, suggesting that death was not a sudden event but rather a gradual transition that began at the cellular level long before conventional medical signs became apparent. This understanding led to improved protocols for end-of-life care, with medical teams better equipped to recognize early signs of decline and provide appropriate support for both patients and families. Oscar's gift had not only solved a medical mystery but had contributed to more compassionate and effective approaches to death and dying. Today, Oscar continues his rounds at Steerhouse. Now recognized as one of the most scientifically significant therapy animals in medical history, his daily routine remains unchanged. Methodical visits to patients, selective attention to those who need his presence, and unwavering accuracy in his predictions. Dr. Martinez, now recognized as a leading expert in animal-assisted detection of medical conditions, continues her research while maintaining her primary focus on patient care. She often reflects on how Oscar's mysterious abilities had led to discoveries that improved the lives of countless families facing the most difficult moments of human experience. The scientific community continues to study Oscar's abilities, with ongoing research into the development of technological applications and the training of other animals for similar roles. But for the families who have experienced Oscar's presence during their loved one's final hours, the scientific explanations matter less than the comfort and preparation his gift provides. Oscar's story has become more than just a medical mystery. Solved It has become a testament to the unexpected ways that healing and understanding can emerge from the most unlikely sources. In bridging the gap between scientific knowledge and compassionate care, Oscar has shown that sometimes the most profound medical breakthroughs come not from laboratories or textbooks, but from the simple presence of a caring soul who refuses to let anyone face their final moments alone. As Dr. Martinez often tells visitors to steer house, Oscar didn't just help us understand death better, he taught us how to live with death more meaningfully. His gift isn't prediction, it's preparation, connection, and the reminder that every ending can also be a beginning if we approach it with love and understanding. This incredible story reminds us that healing and wisdom can come from the most unexpected sources. Oscar's mysterious gift became more than just a medical phenomenon. It became a bridge between scientific understanding and human compassion, showing us that sometimes the most profound discoveries happen when we remain open to possibilities beyond our current knowledge. In a world where technology often replaces human connection, Oscar proved that the most sophisticated early warning system is sometimes a gentle presence that refuses to let anyone face life's most challenging moments alone. What other incredible mysteries of animal intelligence and healing are waiting to be discovered? Subscribe for more amazing stories that reveal the extraordinary bonds between humans and animals, and the unexpected ways they guide us toward greater understanding and compassion.